What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for some more content for you guys. And seeing as we are one game away from the quarter of the season being played, we thought we would bring you the quarter season rating. We thought that this nice little gap in international break was a nice opportunity to sit down, look at the players that have played this season for Spurs and give them a rating out of 10. We are here with Brian Daigle. Big up, Brian. And if you are new around here, go and check out our brand new website, WeAreTottenhamTV.co.uk, where you get your latest written content surrounding Tottenham Hotspur. But Brian, how are we doing today?
We are all good. Everything is good. It's a lovely sunny day over here. Had a few bits and pieces done, and I can't wait to do this because people who sometimes call me negative, well, you're going to get a huge dose of positivity today. Trust me.
Loving that. So let's go and start off, and we're going to go to Vicario first. Brian's given him a 10. I've given him a 9. I think he's been absolutely brilliant so far, not going to lie. I thought his first game against Brentford did worry me a little bit, to be honest. But I think ever since that Brentford game, I think he's grown in stature. The saves that he's pulling off is unbelievable. When you're looking at some of the saves he made in the North London derby, the Manchester United game, the Burnley game. I mean, he's just pulled off unbelievable saves. And I mean, I can't really think of anything to critique him on, to be honest. I think he's been better than any of us kind of expected, hasn't he, Brian?
Oh, mate, by far. I obviously, as I say a lot when we do this, I had a nuclear meltdown when Raya fell through, and then it was
right here next to me. You were right here.
Right, exactly. And I went in off the deep end way too quickly. I should never have done that. He has been a beast. He has been, like I said, he had a couple of shaky moments in his first game that was like, oh, here we go. What's this all about? But do you know what? Why I've given him that extra point as well is some of the saves he has made that have been made to look easy, or the easier saves, isn't because they were easy shots. It's his angles and his positioning. He knows his angles. He shuts the goal down and makes himself very, very big. And the way he celebrates our last-minute winners, running down to the south stand, his communication with the team, the way he settled in, I am over the moon that we got him. I think he's brilliant. There's no more heart attacks when he's got the ball at his feet. He is. I would score him more if it was allowed. I think he's been exceptional.
Yeah, I actually think he's been the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, never mind at Spurs, so far this season. I think the only one that you can probably compare him to is Alisson, and you're looking at, he's got the highest save percentage out of anyone in the Premier League, so he's doing a fantastic job. And I think you're completely right in what you're saying, like his kind of personality and mentality, you can really see it shining through in this team, can't you?
100%, and long may it continue. Remember, normally we say it takes people to settle in and to get used to it. He's taken to it like a duck to water, and our number one position is locked for the foreseeable with an exceptional purchase from the club.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of things that you just said there is going to very much resonate with our next man that we're going to talk about. And that goes by the name of Micky van de Ven. It's 10s for both of us, for Micky. And I think he's been just a touch of class ever since coming into his first game against Brentford. Look, I don't think he's put a foot wrong, really, for the whole time he's been here. And I think he's grown in ability, grown in stature, game by game. I think he's been better than his counterpart, Cristian Romero. And that just shows how highly he is, because Cristian Romero has been absolutely fantastic so far this season. The pace that he has on him, the recovery kind of challenges and tackles that he puts in. You're looking at the kind of moments that he had against Liverpool where you thought Cody Gakpo was in, and another player which I can't remember looked like he was in on goal, and effortlessly he just comes back and makes those recovery runs and challenges. And even in that game against Fulham where we were just terrible, he was the best player on that pitch, hands down, in the cup. So you got to commend Micky van de Ven. And you talk about Vicario coming in and taking to the Premier League like a duck to water. I mean, Micky van de Ven has probably done it even better.
Yeah, he has. And obviously, we get to see a lot more of him because obviously his position is a lot more demanding. He's the last line of defence for Big Vic. He has been incredible. And you got to remember and I keep saying, for me, he's the biggest signing than Maddison. And the only reason being, yes, we needed creativity, but we desperately needed a partner for Romero, and B, a left centre back. That was like the most important position for us to fill. And I don't think we could have found anyone better. The age is on his side. He is just an exceptional talent. And I honestly don't think we realise just how good this guy is going to be. The way he has started, his ceiling has no end. It's good for him being 6'4". He doesn't need a low ceiling. He's just an absolute monster, and he's just incredible. Like I said, I don't think he's put a foot wrong. Yes, he's had a couple of own goals, but they've been deflections with him trying to do his job. That's going to happen. You can't really criticise him for that. But he has been absolutely magnificent.
And, you got to remember as well, like struggling to score against a low block Luton side, who's the one that steps up and puts the ball in the back of the net?
Yep.
It was Micky van de Ven in a 1-0 win. That could be a vital 3 points for us. So, and when you're looking at the attributes that he does have, I think he can be one of the best, if not the best, defender in the Premier League at some point. I don't think he is right now because he's only a very small sample size. But, when how people talk about Saliba, I think soon people will be talking about Micky van de Ven like that.
I completely agree with you. I mean, let's face it, Saliba had a wonderful season last season, as much as we hate to say it. He's showing it again this season. I completely agree with you. We are looking at possibly one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League within a couple of years. And if he's with us for a long, long time, possibly in the equation, if he stays for a very long time, as one of the best defenders in the Premier League, period.
That's a very high praise. And he kind of just like the attributes that he has and the attributes that Romero have, they just complement each other so well. So let's talk about Cuti Romero now. Brian's given him a 10. I've given him a 9. I think he's been absolutely sensational so far this season. I've marked him down a little bit for those moments at the Emirates, obviously scoring an own goal, giving away a penalty as well in a 2-2 draw. But I still think he had a brilliant game that day, to be honest. And I think the vice captaincy has really given him a new lease of life at Spurs. I believe you're really seeing him kind of take on that responsibility, not being overly aggressive, not putting in as many fouls as he has done in the past. And I just think he's towing the line between being over aggressive so well, and you're really seeing the maturity come through in his performances now.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I've given him the extra point as well is you look at it, and Ange said it after the Luton game. It's a brand new defence. Porro, okay, he's been here a little bit longer, but that back five is brand new this season. Like, no one had played with anyone, and it's Romero that is the linchpin, that's communicating, that's getting this back five. You want to include Big Vic playing this well. Only 2 yellow cards this season compared to God knows how many we would have had this time last season. He's coming forward with the ball a lot more. He's just been exceptional. And I've given him that extra point because of the way he is marshalling that back line.
Yeah, so true. So true. So Cuti Romero gets a 9 from me, a 10 from Brian. Let's move on to our right back, which was Pedro Porro. 9s all round for Pedro. And, it's definitely a big difference to cast your mind back to his first start of the season against Manchester United. We were with you, Brian, outside the stadium. We hear the lineup. Pedro Porro starts at right back. You dropped to your knees because of how bad you thought he would be defensively, and how wrong were we all? Because you weren't the only one to think that. I was thinking that as well, and he's been getting better and better every game. We all knew the attacking output that he does have, but for me, the way he's defending, especially against the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal, not much getting down his side at all. And he's playing admirably well going forward, going back the other way, and he's turning into a top right back for us. Best right back, in my opinion, than we have probably since the Kyle Walker, Kieran Trippier days. And I couldn't be happier for Pedro Porro, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Tim Sherwood even came out after the Leicester game. He absolutely crucified him, and he's come out recently saying, I was wrong, look how he's improved. I've said it before, I think he's the most improved player at Tottenham Hotspur over the last 12 months. correctly, like you said, Ben, I dropped to my knees. I was like, oh, here we go. The guy can't defend. Oh, loved him always going forward. I think he's so dangerous going forward. Incredible. You look at that Liverpool game. I think if anyone else is crossing that ball in the 90 whatever minute, we're not talking about a 2-1 win. We're talking about a 1-1 draw. So good is his delivery. You just got to look at it. The thing I loved is that sliding tackle he made against Liverpool. And I actually thought it was Romero that originally made it because they look very similar with their tattoo. And I was like, oh no, it's Porro. The confidence in him in defending now. He's loving defending.
Yeah.
He's not just there because I need to play there. He's loving defending, and he knows he's got Romero behind him. He knows he's got Kulusevski in front of him. He's got that confidence, that security. I think he's been absolutely outstanding, and I give him a hell of a lot of credit because, like I said, one of the things I've always said, Ben, as you know, if I'm wrong and I've said something, I'll come out and say I was wrong. And Pedro Porro deserves my utmost respect and praise because he has been absolutely incredible. I even said when we spoke, I think he's the best right back in the league at the moment.
Wow. That is definitely high praise for Pedro Porro. And obviously he's had top moments as well, like the assist in the Burnley game. Me and you were there that day, and what an unbelievable ball that was. And also in the last minute, in the final seconds of the Liverpool game, bursting down that right-hand side, getting the ball in the box. If Matip didn't put it into his own net, you never know, it could have fallen to Alejo Veliz, and maybe people are not talking about it as a really lucky win, but Pedro Porro is definitely central to us grabbing those 3 points against Liverpool, and like I said, that brilliant assist against Burnley. So let's move on to our left back, which is Destiny Udogie. Again, 9s all round for Destiny, and I think as well, like Micky van de Ven, like Vicario, he's taken to the Premier League like a duck to water, a brand new position for him in terms of he's usually playing at wing back. Now he's playing an inverted left back role, and defensively I think he's been brilliant. Going forward, I think he's been brilliant, showing his sheer physical presence, just bundling over players. The amount of times he wins the ball high up the pitch and it leads to a Tottenham goal has been sensational. He has struggled at times, like in the first half against Bukayo Saka, at times against Mohamed Salah, but what I really like about that is that he's learned from those experiences, and in that specific game he's put those wrongs right and really grown in those games to becoming one of the best players on the football pitch. So I think Destiny has been absolutely a touch of class.
Oh, he's awesome. He's the one player in this list that I was actually thinking of maybe changing my grade and putting out to a 10. He's just been incredible. You mentioned the Burnley game with Porro. You got to remember, Ben, when we were there, Burnley had taken the lead and looked like we couldn't get into the game. And then Destiny just took the ball from left back and literally ran 3/4 of the pitch with the ball. And from that moment, it was like we were all over them. And you mentioned the goal for Maddison, the assist for Maddison, or the start of the move. He did it against Southampton. He's incredible. I haven't seen anyone move down that left-hand side with such power, pace and determination since Gareth Bale. That's the last person running down that left wing with that kind of authority. And at 20 years old, he's a monster. He's a beast. And my God, again, well done to the club or Paratici in finding this kid. I don't know how people let this one get through. Thank God they did. He is magnificent. And it was very, very hard for me not to give him a 10. But I think, like you said, he had those couple of moments against Salah and Saka. But he learns from it. And that's what you want to see as a player. And what's an addition to the Premier League and Tottenham Hotspur?
Yeah, totally. And next up is Emerson Royal. Brian gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. Obviously started the first game in the Premier League against Brentford. Scored a brilliant goal that day. But I did think maybe defensively he did get caught out a couple of times. Pedro Porro has started every Premier League game since then. And I think when Emerson has come on, he's done a decent job for the team. Maybe you're right. Maybe a 6 is a bit more fair than a 7. But I think maybe somewhere in between a 6 and a 7 is probably right for Emerson, because I don't think he's let us down really.
No, I mean, let's say I'm not giving him a 6 because he's let us down. That's not why I've given it to him. I think a lot of the time I think what we saw with the Brentford game, when he was out of position quite a bit, a lot of that fell on Ollie Skipp not getting back in position to cover. And then obviously you've seen it with Pape Matar Sarr has come in and done exactly that for Pedro Porro. So it's hard to knock Emerson down for that. Only reason I give him a 6 is he has, apart from that Brentford game, it's literally been a bit part, hasn't it? There has not been enough to say.
Yeah, 3 minutes against United, 5 minutes against Burnley, 1 against Sheffield United, and 15 against Luton.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Listen, if I saw Emerson, let's just say Porro was injured, suspended, or we pushed him up top and Emerson came in, I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with it. I just can't give him a 7 based on the sample size.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And let's move on to the next player, which is Ben Davies. Brian, you give him a 6. I gave him a 7. And I think even though Ben Davies has been limited to his minutes like Emerson has, well, even more than Emerson has, he played 20 minutes against Man United, which I thought he came on and did a really good job, to be fair, and could have even scored that day. 9 minutes against Bournemouth. And then he hadn't been seen since Liverpool, which I thought he came on and did a really good job against Liverpool. 9 minutes against Luton. And then obviously he played the cup game, which he wasn't very good. But I feel like in the cameos that Ben Davies has had, I think he's come on and actually made a real impact into helping us seal the games.
Yeah, no, he has. And what I do like when he's coming on is you see how advanced he's going. Obviously, he helped contribute towards that second goal against United. He got a faint touch, which then Martinez turned into his own goal. Ben Davies is, like I said, a lot of managers have liked him. He comes in, you know what you're going to get from him, and you know what you're not going to get from him. And for me, it's exactly the same reason as Emerson. Maybe with the goal for United, I could have given him a 7, but if I'm giving Emerson a 6 for consistency and fair judgment, I've got to give him the same.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Pape Matar Sarr. Brian gives him an 8. I gave him a 9. I think Pape Matar Sarr has been brilliant, absolutely brilliant so far this season. Didn't start the first game of the season in favour of Ollie Skipp, but since coming into the team against Manchester United on the second game of the season, we haven't looked back because he's been absolutely a stalwart in that team. He never stops running. It's like he's got batteries attached to him or something. He's got goal contributions this season. I think, was it 1 goal, 1 assist so far, or maybe even 2 assists. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think he does a lot of the kind of work that goes unnoticed in that midfield, and I think he gives a platform for the likes of James Maddison to really strut his stuff week in, week out for Spurs. I think at the ripe age of 20 years old, we saw it last season against Milan at the San Siro, how good he can be, and we never saw him get those chances afterwards. But since getting his chance against Manchester United, there's just no reason to look back, because he's actually been the reason why we haven't missed Rodrigo Bentancur as much as we have done this season. So the praise can't get higher than that for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe a 9 is what he deserves. I as you know, you and me are very, very big fans of him, and I think he's been wonderful. I think you look at it, that midfield trio right now is working so very well because they all complement each other superbly, and Sarr has done what we were just mentioning before, what Ollie Skipp should have been doing in the first game and covering Porro. His effort and energy levels are simply staggering. He has been he's coming to that first team, and right now you got to think, if Bentancur was fit right now, he doesn't deserve to be dropped. He would need to wait his option. I mean, Ange might say I'll bring him in straight away, but for me, you've got to wait for your opportunity, because right now he is of huge importance to how we are playing. And it's like I said, it's his off the ball work as well. People can talk about, he may give the ball away a few times, but that's because we're trying to be progressive and go forward, and you're going to make those mistakes. It's his sheer work and commitment to the team off the ball that is a joy to see. And at the age he is, 8s and 9s from you and me, what wonderful marks to give him.
Yeah, yeah. And I actually think Bentancur probably shouldn't start until, first of all, if Sarr has a bad game before this and that period. But the African nations, when Sarr goes over to the African nations, then that's when Bentancur comes in for me, because if Sarr keeps up these performance levels, there's just no reason to take him out team, and I think it'll be a bit unfair unless he's like tired or gets an injury or something like that. I think it would be unfair to take him out the team because I think he's been that good. Let's move on to Oliver Skipp. Brian gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. The only game he started in the Premier League was the first game of the season against Brentford, and I think that I don't think he reached the levels that maybe we have seen him reach in previous years. I'm a bit worried about Ollie Skipp because I was a massive fan about Skippy, but I'm seeing where does he fit in this team right now, and I'm just not too sure. To be honest, I'm not sure if he's got the ability that we've seen maybe some of the other midfielders have, but he played 74 minutes that game and I don't think he was like overly good. 18 minutes against Bournemouth, 5 against Burnley, 8 against Liverpool, 15 against Luton. And he started the Fulham game in the Cup and got 71 minutes, which I thought he had a really poor game there, to be honest. So in the cameos that he has had, I think a bit hot and cold. He has performed well in some games that he has and maybe not so much in other times. But to be honest, I have expected a bit more from Ollie Skipp than what I've seen so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I've given him a point more than you, Ben, is Ange just brought him on in those games where we've got late winners. So he's been a part of that. It's whether we doubted the substitution at the time or whatever, Ange got it right, and he has been a part of it. Listen, he's nowhere near Sarr. And it's unfortunate because, like you, I think he's a good player. I just don't think his future is at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's going to be best for him to try and find another club. Because with Benson, Corbat, Hojbjerg, he is going to go right down the pecking order. But the only reason he's got that extra mark is because, like I said, he's come as a sub, and he has been part of what has been late traumatic wins. So I've given him that little point just for that.
All right. Let's move on, and let's move on to the captain, Heung-min Son. Brian gives him a 10. I gave him a 9. Scored 6 goals in 8 games so far this season. The reason I'm giving him 1 mark lower than a 10, because I feel in the games in the early part of the season when he did play at left wing, I don't think he impacted maybe as much as he has done since moving to the number 9 position. But even in the number 9 position, I feel like maybe against lone blocks, he struggled a bit, albeit that he has got on the score sheet. But it might sound like I'm bashing Sonny a little bit here, but I'm completely not, because I think he's been absolutely sensational, seeing as I have given him a 9. That shows like how highly I do rate him. But I feel like by the end of the season, if he keeps up doing what he's doing, then I'll keep him at a 9 or even put him as a 10, because I think he's probably been the most clinical striker in the Premier League. Since we have moved him to 9, we've kind of reaped the benefits of it massively. And I don't think there's a striker in the Premier League who's better at running in behind and finishing his dinner like Sonny has. So not only that, Bo, I think his leadership material has been second to none. I've gone on record and said I think he's been the best captain to Spurs in my lifetime. And like the stuff with the huddle outside the away ends, you can see him geeing up the players on the pitch, and he just leads by example, and he leads with authority as well. So I couldn't have really asked for more from what Sonny has delivered for us so far.
Yeah, the reason he's got the 10 from me is first of all is the way he's taken the captaincy and even developed that role. He's developed the role compared to previous captains, and he's taken that, dealing with coming off the back of his worst season at the club last season. And people criticising him. I was one of them, and I believe criticism is warranted if you believe so, but praise has also got to be given when it's due. And he's taken on the captaincy. He's come off that poor season. He's now got the responsibility as you are the main goals threat after Kane left, and he has risen above my wildest expectations of him as a captain. And I think he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. Yeah, the left wing wasn't really suiting him, but what he's doing for the team on and off the pitch and taking on that captaincy is just a joy to see. And that's why I've given him that 10.
All right. Next up is Manor Solomon. Brian gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. Didn't start until the cup game at Fulham, which I thought he was fairly poor, but I thought maybe in the first half he maybe looked our dangerous player out of everyone, but he still didn't have a great game. Started the next Premier League game after that at Burnley, which I thought he was definitely one of our best players that day, grabbing himself 2 assists and central to the reason that we won. The next game he started against Sheffield United, which I actually thought he played really well that game as well, which definitely in the first half looked like our most dangerous player. And then he had cameos against Liverpool and against Arsenal, where he was okay, but maybe could have been a bit better. So I think 7 is probably a fair result for Manor, and it's just a shame that he's got injured and quite a serious injury, being out for 3 to 4 months. So we're not going to see him for a while.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I give him a 6, like I said, Sheffield United, I think it was magnificent in the first half. Sheffield United just could not live with him. And he did well at Burnley when we were there, like you said, 2 assists. But the other games, it's just hot and cold from him. And one of the things, especially, I can't remember, was it Liverpool where he came on? And there was so many times where he cut in and he could have shot.
Yeah.
And his decision making sometimes has just been the wrong decision, which is harsh to judge him on that. But obviously he's picked up this huge injury, which is going to keep him out. But if he had more appearances, like against Arsenal when we were there, Ben, he hardly did anything. But there were very bright sparks from him in Sheffield United and Burnley. And hopefully we'll see more of those kind of performances when he's back and hopefully get on the score sheet. But yeah, that's the only reason I've gone for a 6, because the games that he's been in that hasn't been Burnley and Sheffield United, it's just like, okay, what have you done?
Yeah.
So I'd love to give him a 7, but I think I've got to give him a 6.
Next up is Richarlison. Brian gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. Maybe I would have agreed with you, maybe even lower for his work before the international breaks. But I felt like after the international break, he's come out and spoken about his mental health, which I commend him for. And I think since then, he's actually improved quite a lot and impacting to the team. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists so far this season in 9 games in all competitions. And yes, the Luton game was probably a step backwards in terms of what he'd done after the international break. But I feel like in those games against Sheffield United, that cameo, against Arsenal, the performance against Liverpool, I thought they were all pretty good and to a good standard. So if he can keep up that for the rest of the season, I'll be happy. But obviously, if he reverts back to the Luton, he did get taken off at half-time after Bissouma got sent off, and he misses those 2 gilt-edged chances.
Yep.
But I feel like maybe it's somewhere in between a 5 and a 6, 5.5 maybe is fair. But I'm just going to give him the benefit of the doubt and commend him for coming out against his mental health like he did, and performance did improve after that. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I would like to change my vote to a 6, or my ranking to a 6. And the only reason I say that, if I'm giving only Skipp a 6, and he's hardly contributed anything, where Richarlison has got those 2 goals, 2 assists, came on against Sheffield United and obviously changed the game. Liverpool, he looked really good at the beginning, but then obviously just it petered out. He's a handful, but I can't remember a player that's had so much misfortune. Yeah. I really can't. There's a guy. I mean,
Bobby Soldado.
He needs to work, probably. Yeah, he needs to work on his first touch. As I've said before, it's like he's got bouncy castles on his feet. And yeah, I think 6 is a fair mark. But we're getting to the point now where he's got to find this form. He's got to, or we're going to have to start seriously thinking. Right, how do we move him on, or what do we do? Because obviously, when Brennan Johnson comes back, I would imagine his position is seriously under threat. So yeah, I think it's a 6, but we need to see more from him.
Yeah, I totally agree. James Maddison up next, and it's a big fat 10 all round for James Maddison. Best player in the Premier League so far, in my opinion. I think he's been absolutely unbelievable. I think 5 goals, 5 assists, 2 goals so far this season, 7 goal contributions, and I think he's just been central to everything good Spurs have done this season. And it's not just his attacking output as well. I think his work off the ball, coming deep, picking up the ball deep, and also high up the pitch has been second to none. You can see his leadership ability has been absolutely brilliant. He had the captain's armband on his debut, and I don't ever remember a Spurs player having that. And I think he's actually just grown in stature since joining Spurs. And I never knew how good his work. Well, I kind of did know how good his work off the ball is, but I never knew how much of a leader he was before joining Spurs. And I think this signing couldn't have worked out pretty much any better than it has. And he's actually almost kind of like one of like the leaders, or one of like the poster boys of Spurs already after only 8 or 9 games.
Oh, well, listen, without doubt, when we signed him, it was a magnificent signing for the club. It's one that we've wanted for a long, long time, and the position we've needed for a long, long time. He's come in, and I never doubted his passing, his crossing, his dead balls. The one thing that I was curious or didn't know a lot about was obviously his running with the ball out of defence, or just his general overall play, apart from like obviously finding a pass or unlocking a defence and a dead ball. He has simply blown me away with it was from that Man U game where he rolled someone and then ran the pitch. He has been an incredible thing to see. You look at it as well, just add to it as well, his shithousery. Look what he did with Bournemouth when he mucked about with the corner flag. When we got the winner against Sheffield United, he ran up to a United player and celebrated by pretending he had cramp. The nonsense he came out with Saka when he tried to mimic his dart move, and then with England international just now, where he's obviously got the photo with Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he's put the caption, "You still want a replay?" He has been a breath of fresh air, and you know what? He loves Tottenham Hotspur already. He is so happy to be here. His game has gone up levels. I have a good friend that's a Leicester fan, and has even said so. It's early days, but my God, what an outstanding player James Maddison is, and he is very, very worthy of that 10. He has been magnificent.
And he's like, sometimes you just get a transfer that just fits the club like a glove, and James Maddison is most definitely one of those, and he just seems genuinely just so happy to be playing for Tottenham Hotspur, and it's just great to watch. It really is. Next up is Dejan Kulusevski, 8 all round for us. I think he's done a very underrated role for the team so far this season. You're looking at his ball carrying ability, which I think is probably the best in the team so far. You're looking at his physicality up there on the right hand side of the attack as well, which is probably the best in the league so far. And I feel like he just unlocks maybe kind of a lot of players in this team. I would like to see him improve his output in terms of assists, because I don't think he's even he hasn't even got one assist this season, but you can attribute one of the goals against Manchester United to him, but it wasn't given to him. But I think like he gets a bit of a bad rap from the fans when maybe it's a bit over the top, but I would like to see him improve a few facets of his game. So I think 8 is a fair mark, but he has been brilliant.
I think he has been. I was not impressed with his start to the season, but I don't think I was taking into consideration the work he was doing off the ball. I was looking, like I said, we all want to see the Dejan Kulusevski who started his career at Spurs under Conte and was just blowing people away, and it was just the guy for a few games where everything was going through him. But you look at his work rate and you look at it against Arsenal, Liverpool, and also against Luton. His work rate, his hold-up play, his overall game, apart from the assists that we want to see and the goals, obviously, I think he has been wildly underrated so far this season. I was one of them at the beginning, but I took a step back and just watched him closely, and he is doing so much for this team. He is an outlet. His hold-up play has improved greatly, and if he had just added a couple of goals or a couple of assists, I think we'd be talking in the 9s. But well done, Dejan Kulusevski, for your last few games. I think you've been magnificent.
Next up is Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. Brian gives him a 7. For some reason, I've given him an 8. I'm not sure why.
An 8
for Hojbjerg is a bit too excessive in my opinion right now. I think you're right. 7. It should definitely be 7. But I'm looking at my notes and I definitely did give him an 8. So it's my bad on that one. But I'm changing it to say it has to be a 7 for Pierre, because he hasn't started a Premier League game this season. Obviously, when he comes back with Bissouma's suspension, he's going to start. But I think every time he's come on the pitch, he's shown how professional this man is. From what he went through from last season to this season, being a central part of the starting lineup, pretty much being one of the first names on the team sheet, being in the leadership group. Fast forward to this season, out of the leadership group, out of the starting 11, to the likes of 20-year-old Pape Matar Sarr, Bissouma, who wasn't getting a look in last season, new signing in James Maddison. I think he's just carried himself with dignity. I think that every time he comes on, he does a big role for the team in terms of trying to see out games, even his progressive passing to get balls up the pitch, and his tenacity and his aggression that sees us through the game. So I think Pierre has done really well for us coming off the bench, and I think he'll be a big loss for us once we sell him.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up the word model dictionary, if you look up the word model professional in the dictionary, you will see a picture of Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg. He is the absolute embodiment of a role model and good professional. He has come on, and his role slightly changed. Obviously, like you said, all these things have been taken away from him.
Just slightly.
But he comes on, and your job is to make things difficult for the other team and keep it tight, compact, and solid to get the job done and over the line. And we sit here undefeated. Yeah. And he's come on. Yes, he's had only bit part play, but he's had a role to do, and he's done it. The stats back what he's been doing with his progressive passing, and people say he's not progressive enough. Well, he is. People either A, just aren't seeing it, or B, don't want to acknowledge what he's doing. And obviously he's going to come on, you'd imagine, for the Fulham game on Monday. And I have every confidence he'll do the job that Ange Postecoglou asks of him. And like you said, it'll be a big miss when he does go, whether it be January, whether it be in the summer. He needs a bit more respect this season. He's been a very, very good, dependable player.
Yeah, I would say that, yes, he's going to start the Fulham game on Monday night, but let's hope it's not a repeat of the last Fulham game, because I thought he was absolutely horrific in that game, to be honest. And that's the only game he has started this season. Yeah. But let's move on to Yves Bissouma. Brian and myself both give him a 9, and I'm sure we'll both agree that we're marking him down from a 10 because of that stupid sending off that he did get against Luton. And we were saying coming into the Luton game, he's got to walk the tightrope, one more booking and he's going to be suspended. Well, he went one further than that and got 2 bookings, got himself sent off. So not only does he miss the Fulham game, but he's walking that tightrope all over again when we play Crystal Palace in a couple of weeks' time. And another booking, and he's going to be out for another game. So that's the bad with Bissouma. But how good has this man been in the number 6 role for us? So press resistant. His dribbling ability is absolutely sensational. Just no one can get past him and no one can get the ball off him. He is just so good and so vital to this team. I do worry massively when we don't have him in the team for the Fulham game, because I feel like he just adds something to that midfield that nobody, in my opinion, in the Premier League can add to this midfield, because he's so good defensively, so good going forward. I would like him to add to his maybe goal output and goal contribution, because I just know he has it in his locker, which I probably wouldn't say about a usual or classic number 6, but I don't feel like he is a usual or a classic number 6. I think he's so much better than that. So I think Bissouma has been absolutely brilliant this season. It's just a shame that Luton game is going to be a blot against his season so far.
Yeah, that's the reason he's got 9 from me. But if you want a player to represent where Spurs were and where Spurs are over the last year, just look at Yves Bissouma. Last season, grey clouds, thunderstorms, everything was about to go wrong. He was down, depressed, couldn't get a game, injured. Even when he was fit, Conte didn't want to play him, and he's got such a huge personality. Then all of a sudden, the clouds are lifted. Ange comes in, plays him where he loves to play, and the birds are singing, the sun is shining, the grass is green, the sky is blue. You see him after games. He's the life and soul of that dressing room and interacting with the fans. And like you said, Joe, you look at the opening goal against Liverpool. Just before it, him and Sarr are playing passes in between three midfielders. Like, they were such risky passes that could easily have got cut out. And I hate it when we kind of sometimes revert back to previous players, especially legends. He's got the touch of Dembele on him. And when I say Dembele, I don't mean it's just he'll have the ball and you'll be like, okay, where he can't go this way or that. And whilst you're thinking, where the hell is he going to go? He's turned past 2 players and advancing up the pitch. His change of direction, his awareness of where everyone is on the football pitch is incredible.
He's got eyes at the back of his head, doesn't he?
Oh, mate, he's got on back. He's like an owl. He can rotate his head 360. He is just a magnificent player that has literally come on leaps and bounds. His enthusiasm gets him through it as well. And you've just got to look at that Sheffield United game. I revert back to that one quite a bit because at 90 or the 80th, whatever minute, 90th minute, when we're still 1-0 down and there are 12 minutes left, he single-handedly dragged us through. He was absolutely everywhere and just would not let go and was like, right, that's it, we're going to win this. And against Arsenal, there's a lot of games he's been magnificent, but right when people are tiring, he finds this extra bit of juice from somewhere and just makes sure we see the job through. And it's just such a shame he did what he did against Luton, because this would have been one of the easiest 10s I would have given.
Yeah, totally agree. And, you know, there are moments like in that Manchester United game where he's on the edge of our box facing our goal and he's got players all around him. And then suddenly he's just gone completely the other way, taken 2 or 3 players out of the game and Spurs are on the attack. I mean, he's just a delight to watch, isn't he? He just really is a delight to watch.
Definitely.
But let's move on to Brennan Johnson. 7s all round for Brennan. Obviously, we brought him in right at the end of the transfer window. He came on against Sheffield United for the last 11 minutes of that game, and I thought he actually made quite an impact. You saw his direct running, but we didn't get a goal out of any of his good play. But I felt like you just saw the energy levels and someone was something about them. And then he did get on the back of that a start in the North London derby. He did unfortunately come off after the hour mark injured, which we might see him after this international break return from injury. But I feel like he played actually really well in the Arsenal game. He was getting in and amongst it. He was in good positions where he could have potentially scored if David Raya didn't pull off one of the saves of the season. It's just unfortunate that he's only played 70, 75 odd minutes so far in a Spurs shirt and he got that injury, because he probably would have played that Liverpool game and probably would have played that Luton game. And I felt like he would have been a really good tool in our armoury in that Liverpool game where they play a high line, and he could have made an impact. But I'm excited to see what the season brings for Brennan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. The Sheffield United game, he came on, got an assist, disallowed for a foul, I think it was, got a goal, and you got to remember how well he took that goal to bring the ball down the way he did and finish how he did, disallowed for offside. He had immediate impact. Obviously, when he comes on, the very fact of his pace just terrifies defenders, period. Against Arsenal, we could have had a couple of goals. Not only that save from Raya, but the first goal where Maddison sent Saka packing came off the back of another save from David Raya. I think he is going to bring a lot to this team with his just directness, his pace. And I think it's I was doubting the signing to begin with, but I can see it now. I can totally see the reasons he's been brought in. And it's like you said, it's just a shame he came down with this injury. But when he does come back, what an asset he's going to be. Yeah,
totally. Let's move on to Ivan Perisic. It says Sim gives him a 7, but I'm sure Brian's the one giving him a 7, and I gave him an 8. And I'm actually going to stick with this 8 because he hasn't started in the Premier League as of yet. But what I feel with Ivan Perisic is every time he came on, he has made a massive difference in the game. When we're looking for a goal late in the game, he's the one with the supreme crossing ability, the best crosser in the squad by a country mile. He's provided 2 assists for us, one of them being in the Carabao Cup when he came on to provide that assist for Richarlison. Well, I'm not sure did he come on or start? I can't remember, but he just provides for us something. Yeah, he came on. So he just provides for us something that nobody else in this squad that can, with that supreme elite crossing ability. So that's why I've given him an 8. And it's just a massive, massive, massive shame that he's going to be out. And we've probably seen the last of him in a Spurs shirt. So I rate him very, very highly. And I feel like the reasons why we bought him in the first place under Antonio Conte, he's showing that, or he did show that at the first part of this season.
Oh, without a doubt, I'm a big fan of his, and it's just last season we got to see what he could offer creatively. We saw what he can't offer us defensively, but kept getting put there. And again, you could see in pre-season, he looked like a different player, playing in where he plays for Croatia. You know what he's going to do. Like you said, his crossing is absolutely staggeringly brilliant. And he was really kind of finding a rhythm. And then obviously this injury has come and took him down. And like you said, I highly doubt we will ever see him in a Spurs shirt again. I stick with my 7 just because of the amount of time that he had on the pitch. But it's just such a shame because he may have been the one to be able to get everything out of Richarlison. He really could have been the one to bring Richarlison and guarantee Richarlison some goals, and that kind of weapon's been taken away. And it's such a shame. It's such a shame. But 7 for me, yeah.
And last but not least, we're going to go to big Ange Postecoglou. And I think we would have gone as high as we could go, to be honest. But it is out of 10, so he has to get a 10 from both of us. And when you're talking about a man, first of all, who's never managed in the Premier League, was a bit of a laughing figure for the rest of the league, to be honest, when he came in. Oh, where has he ever managed? He's only been in the Japan League, the Scottish League, the Australian League. What's he ever done in his career? Well, he's come in. He's won 2 Manager of the Month awards in his first 2 months. He's had to deal with Spurs losing Harry Kane, which was unbelievable the way he dealt with that. Top of the league after 8 games. Yes, we did go out the cup because too many changes, which was a blot against his name 100%. But with everything else he's had to deal with, I think has been second to none. He's completely flipped the philosophy of this football club. He's completely flipped the mentality of the fan base. He's brought a kind of never say die attitude to this football club. He's kind of merged the fans and the club so that they're all singing of the same hymn sheet. I mean, I can't sing this guy's praises enough. The changes that he makes in games impacts the game every single time. I can't remember seeing a manager that has better kind of in-game tactics and in-game management than him. What more can I say about him? We're sitting top of the league. We're unbeaten. We've gone to the Emirates. We've had Liverpool come at home. Yes, fine. People will say we've played the 3 bottom teams or the 3 teams that have come up. But you can't fault the man. You just cannot fault him. And he's exceeded every single Spurs fans, every single fan in the Premier League's expectations of him. So he has to get a big fat 10.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll start with where you kind of almost finished off with playing and beating the 3 bottom teams. Well, last year we would not have got 9 points from that, without a doubt. So let's go from there now. Let's start this from the beginning. When Ange Postecoglou came into this football club, it was probably during the darkest time in our club's recent history or Premier League history. Yes, we've come close to relegation block, but the way the feelings were towards the board, potentially losing Kane, Arsenal finishing above us, not being in Europe, so many things were stacking up that this could have gone horribly. This job could have it. Not only did he come in with the hugest job for a Spurs manager to do, to change everything at this football club, but he came in obviously when all of our Premier League rivals, or top 4, whatever, were strengthening and had their managers for a certain amount of time. He was coming in with the most amount of work to do with the least amount of time to do it.
Yeah.
And what this man has done to this football club, the connection between the manager and the fans, the connection between the players and the fans, the connection between managers and the players, the whole club has got in a complete 180 to change the style of football so quickly as well. We all thought, okay, listen, we're going to take some wallopings. This is going to be rough and smooth. We're going to have some great victories, some high scoring, but we're also going to have some big defeats. We have to ride this out. We have to do this. We have to do that. He has just blown everyone to smithereens. And when you hear the media, whether it be written or by YouTube or TV punditry, where people are like, our Spurs 10th, our Spurs 8th, Spurs are done, Spurs are... And to come in, and now when you see it, people are going, oh, when we next watch Spurs, I don't like Spurs, I don't support Spurs, but I want to watch Spurs. Oh my God, look at this, I don't know a manager that's been able to do this. Honestly, you look at it, I don't know.
Pochettino was the last one.
Yeah, but he didn't do it this quick, did he?
No, not this quick, yeah.
This is what I'm saying. We're talking 8 games. With Pochettino, it all started changing after that Aston Villa game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that Aston Villa game when Harry Kane scored that free kick, and then obviously Harry Kane started. Then that started to build. The second season was when things really started to take off. But this guy, top of the league, like you said, undefeated. The only blemish is the Fulham game. And we go from strength to strength. And also, you look at it, press conferences. You want to listen to them.
Yeah.
Snippets. He takes a
so
snippet.
Engaging.
Yeah, it's like you know when you say Maddison came in and he was like the Spurs epitome of what we want that comes in. You've got to give credit to Ange Postecoglou because he's just come in and taken to this club. Not like, oh, I'm doing you the favour like previous managers. He has been a breath of fresh air. He is wonderful. He is magnificent. He is superb. And like you said, if we could give him more, we would have done.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't have put it better myself. I think Ange Postecoglou is most definitely the most perfect manager for this club at this moment in time, and we're so lucky to have him. But that is it. That is your quarter season player ratings. Thank you very much to Brian for coming on once again in the absence of Simeon, enjoying his time in sunny California, sunny Los Angeles right now, while we're stuck in the studio doing Spurs content. Now, I'm joking. We love every second of it. Don't you worry about that. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us today. We'll see you all very soon. Go and check out our brand new website, WATTV.co.uk. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.